your typical addict, whether it's a sex addict or, any other form of addict for that matter, among other things, we have used our drug, in this case sex, as a way to numb out, cope with, and medicate stuff away. So it kind of becomes our upper and our downer, to use drug lingo. It's the way that we get excited about things, and it's the way that we relieve stress from things. And it's, so we're constantly using it to medicate and manage. Addicts generally have a very low level of self-esteem when you get honest with them. They don't do well in terms of looking inward. It's one of the reasons, like we talked about a couple of podcasts ago, why guys are so resistant to journaling, is because it means it's all about looking inside and looking at what's going on inside of you. And when you're talking about boundaries, and in the sexual realm, between the pornography and the damage that's done to a guy about the norms, quote unquote, of sex, and coupled with the fact that the guy has used sex to maintain kind of a healthy, well, not healthy, to maintain his mood or to regulate his mood or how he's feeling. When you start to threaten that in any way, that is scary territory for an addict, because again, for an addict, in more ways than they realize, so much of the relationship is based in the quality of the sexual component. And when you start to even push up against that, it brings up a lot of things, ranging from fear to resentment to them because they're having to, among other things, it's this prospect of having to face life, right, without these other things going on. So we're going to talk about that as we go through today. And that's why we're going to, frankly, if we're being honest, that's why we're using sex as an example of how to set boundaries, because chances are for you guys who are listening, this is probably going to be one of the most volatile areas in terms of setting boundaries. So if you can do a good job of it here, the other areas, for the most part, tend to be easier. So,
well, let me do a little neuroscience insertion right there. Why does the addict brain freak out whenever this issue of boundaries comes up? And it's really, if you think of that part of the brain as the survival mechanism within us, and if I grow up in a culture where I learn that these sexual outlets are a place for me to escape to cope with life, to handle my stress, to deal with things when I'm either bored or isolated or whatever it is, whatever thing that's uncomfortable in my life, and now sex becomes my drug of choice to self-medicate. Yeah. Now someone, let's say my wife, comes to me and says, oh, by the way, I'm about to set boundaries on your use of your favorite medication. And the survival brain says, excuse me? You're about to do what? And so don't be surprised as we talk about this and your wife actually starts to set boundaries that part of your brain is freaking out. And you may have some emotional reactions to this that even surprise you.
Yes.
Maybe some anger outbursts. Maybe you shut down and go silent. You're resentful. You're moody. How dare she? Yeah. It's because you're threatening the very survival mechanism that your brain has learned. It's its go-to place when life gets unmanageable. Yep. And now you're saying, nope, boundaries on that. Sorry. So it's a natural response from that part of the brain.